Hello everyone, it's Megan. Welcome back to another video. Today we are in my home library. We're going to talk about my favorite reads of 2024. Now, I did not have very many 5 stars, so I thought that this video could be like 5 stars and 4.5 stars, and then like the 4 stars could be the honorable mentions, because there's really not very many of like any of them. It was a terrible reading year. One of my worst, I guess my worst since I joined BookTube, probably. But anyway, our drink of the video today is the peach flavored just seltzer water. Very yummy. I like it very much. Kroger brand for the win. Okay, so let's get our 5 stars out of the way. We're just gonna do the best ones first. The first book I read this year, and my only 5 star that's not a reread, sort of, besides a graphic novel. My only kind of true 5-star book, because I think I'm reading a 5-star book right now, maybe even 2 5-star books, but I'm not gonna have them finished by the end of the year. Today's New Year's Eve. I had to think about it. Today's New Year's Eve. So I can confidently say I'm not going to finish the other books that might be 5 stars. So my one and only true 5-star book of the year, I've talked about it before, is the Elon Musk biography by Walter Isaacson. This thing is chunky. I did not know how chunky it was until my mother-in-law just bought it for me for Christmas. I did ask for it for Christmas. She likes to buy me a book every year. And I was like, you know what? It's my favorite book of the year. I need a copy. I need it. I talk about it all the time. So it looks like it's about 615 pages. So it's really big. I did not remember it being, I remember the audiobook being decently long. But I keep saying it doesn't matter if you like or don't like Elon Musk. This is like just a wild story. He's such a character. Like, he's a true just character. And some of the things that happen in here, you're just like, you're on the edge of your seat because you don't know what's going to happen next. You're like, how's he going to get out of this one? How's he possibly going to make this deadline? You know, how's he going to make this thing work? How's he going to solve this problem? But his personality is just so wild that, I mean, he's truly like a character. So even like I said, even if you don't like Elon Musk, his story is just so wild that I was on the edge of my seat. I was riveted. I could not wait to listen to this book. And usually audiobooks put me to sleep if I listen to them like while I'm trying to fall asleep. Like at bedtime, the lights are out, I'm just like laying there listening to an audiobook and I get too sleepy and I have to stop. In this case, I couldn't go to sleep. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I have to see what happens next. What's going to happen next? So I cannot wait to reread this book. I'd like to read it maybe physically this time, although I did really enjoy the audiobook. So this is, I guess, my only true 5-star book of the year. How sad is that? I mean, kind of. Like, I have others, which you're about to see, because my next 5-star was Neverworld Wake. I don't remember if this is the exact order. If so, I mean, it was really close to being the right order, but it's technically a reread for me. It's still one of my favorite. Is it my favorite? I'd say, yeah, I think so. I think that this and I Hunt Killers are right up there. I'd have to reread I Hunt Killers. Maybe I Hunt Killers is better. I don't know. This was not as good the second time. It's still 5 stars, but the first time I was just so blown away because it wasn't what I expected at all. I always say that you should ignore the cover. This was the wrong cover design for this book. This looks boring. It looks sad. It looks like it's realistic fiction, and it is none of those things. It is exciting, thrilling, mystery, sci-fi, deals with like, plays with time, which is what I like. Kind of sort of like a time loopy kind of situation, but just crazy things happen. But then it winds up sort of being like a murder mystery, and each character has a secret, and the characters are so good. Anyway, love this book. Love Marisha Pessl until I read Darkly. I'm coming for you, Darkly, in my biggest disappointments video. Don't you worry. Anyway, still a 5-star. But it was a reread. Then I had such a 5-star drought this year, right? I'd only had the one 5-star with the Elon Musk book that I was like, okay, I have to have another 5-star. So I just reread Vicious. And I only reread Vicious so that I could read the 1.5 graphic novel, which you're going to see in just a second. I wanted to reread Vicious. I didn't particularly want to reread Vengeful. I don't know if I'm going to or not, because as much as I loved Vengeful the first time, I don't think it's going to hold up as much, because Vicious is just so good. Like, I mean, go ahead and read Vengeful if you liked Vicious, but I mean, you could stop here. Like, you get the full story, basically, I think, with this one. But it's, you know, follows very morally gray characters, which is what I love so much. I think the writing is like genius. I think Victoria Schwab, not necessarily the writing itself, like not the prose, but like just the way she, you know, like what each chapter follows. Like, it'll go to the past and then the present and then the past and then the present, but it'll say like, you know, what time, like 10 p.m. 2 days before, and you're like, what? 10 years ago at the university. I mean, there's such short chapter. Oh, look, this morning at the hotel. There's such short chapters. It is so fast paced. There's like a bunch of different sections, and I just absolutely love Vicious. I even got my husband to read it, and he really liked it too. So good reread for sure, which brings us to the last 5-star of the year. which was this tiny little graphic novel, which I think is a bind up of like, oh yeah, and mine's signed. I didn't even know it until I got it. I got like a special edition hardcover. It's called Extraordinary. Technically it's volume like 1.5. It's in between Vicious and Vengeful, and I had never read it before, so it's collects issues 0 through 4 of Extraordinary. So it was like some little comics, I guess, like, so it'd be 5 of them, I guess, collected in here. The ending was so amazing. I absolutely loved, I mean, talk about a cliffhanger. The ending was absolutely amazing, and I need her to write more. I don't know if she's ever going to, but I need her to write more of these because it was so, so good. Don't know if I'm going to read Vengeful, but we'll see. But anyway, those are my top 4 books of the year, I guess, technically. Just a quick shout out, though, to the 2 books I'm currently reading. Perdido Street Station. I'm only on page 212 out of like 700, so I'm like 30%, something like that. But I can pretty confidently say this is going to be 5 stars. So, but it'll be on next year's 5 stars, I guess, because I'm not finishing it today. And then Cloud Atlas, I don't know. I don't know if this could be 5 stars. I'm on page like 70 something. I loved Slade House so much by the same author, David Mitchell. We will see. I don't know if this could be 5 stars, but there's the possibility, but it would be on next year's as well. I just had to give them a shout out because I'm enjoying them very, very much at the moment. Now, onto our 4.5 stars that I think count as favorites of the year as well. And there are 3 of those, and that is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Could not believe I loved this. I read The Inheritance Games like a year ago or so. Didn't like it. Don't know why I even tried The Naturals. Well, I do. It's because Destiny from Destiny Sidwell, there we go. She loved this series, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a try, even though I don't really like anything that she likes, but I tried it anyway. And I'm so glad I did, because I recommend this to students at school all the time now. It is young adult, so we have it in our library. We did it for our big reading event last year called Readapalooza. Students loved it. They've begged for all the sequels, so I've ordered the sequels for the library because we didn't have them previously. And there are 4. It's a series of 4. I've now read 2 of them. I need to continue, but I'm sad when it'll be over because they're so good. So anyway, books 1 and 2. First one is The Naturals. The second one is Killer Instinct. They both made it onto this list as being 4.5 stars. How rare is it that a sequel is also as good, right? Like, usually I like one or the other better, but I think they were equally good. The first one got me so hooked with these characters because they each have a very natural ability. I mean, it's almost supernatural, right? Like, there's a girl that's like a human lie detector, but she can literally detect lies every single time, like, so easily. And I mean, it's almost like it is a supernatural ability. But yeah, if you like X-Men and you like, you know, true crime, like murder mysteries and serial killers and stuff like that, then you would probably like this series, because that's the 2 things I kind of compare it to. And there's a hint of a love triangle, but I don't think it like takes over the book by any means. I still don't know which team I'm on. I think I'm happy with either person she winds up with, which is kind of funny. I'm pretty sure I know which one she's going to wind up with. It's like leading us that way, but we'll see. But I gave both of them 5 stars, or 4.5 stars. I didn't give them 5 just because, you know, I mean, they're young adult and they're not like something that has a lot of commentary like Perdido Street Station or something. Like, they're just fun though. They're just very, very fun. Highly recommend. And then my only other 4.5 star of the year was The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Shocking to everyone, because I previously DNF'd this book like 2 years ago. But my library at school, we were, you know, getting ready to move to the new school. We had to discard a bunch of books. And we had 2 copies or more of this entire series, and it doesn't get checked out much anymore. So I weeded, like, AKA, you know, got rid of, discarded one of each of the series. So I brought the 4 home that I weeded. Thought, you know, I'll read them and then I'll do something else. I'll give them away to kids, you know, use them as a contest, whatever, for prizes later on. But I wound up loving book 1. But it's so funny because, like I said, I DNF'd it the first time. This time I loved it. Then I read book 2 and I was like, 3 stars, whatever, maybe 3.5. Read book 3, I was like, not good. I was not interested in book 3 at all. I DNF'd book 4. I literally could not make it through the series. Like, book 4, I DNF'd like, I don't even know, 10% in. I don't even know if I made it that far. I could not stand it. It was so boring. And I looked up the ending, and it's kind of a lackluster ending, honestly, for how much buildup there is in the series. But I mean, it is young adult, and it is kind of, you know, magical. It is kind of slow paced. It's very much about just the characters, the Raven Boy. So if you like the character dynamics, I think you would definitely like this book for sure. It was kind of, you know, dark, atmospheric. I liked the atmosphere for sure, but I just wish the rest of the series, I just have kind of such a sour taste now because it went so downhill. But so looking back on it, I don't think I like this one as much as The Naturals and Killer Instinct. almost makes me want to lower it to 4 stars, but I think that's only because of how the rest of the series progressed. But when I read it the first time, I was really, really into it. Okay, which means we need to do our honorable mentions, which are the 4 stars, because I had so few, as you saw, 5 and 4.5 stars. I thought I'd give an honorable mention to the 4 stars because there's not too many of those either, because I had a really bad reading year. So I think I'm finally discovering my reading taste, though, and it's weird books. I'm going to stop reading all these books everybody else is recommending on BookTube, because clearly I just don't like the regular popular books that everybody else likes. So Trust of the Emerald Sea got 4 stars. Huge surprise, too, because I don't like Brandon Sanderson, at least from the books I've tried in the past. I tried Way of Kings. I tried the first of the Mistborn series, and this one was much better. I just liked the writing style because it was so funny. I also gave A Dangerous Collaboration 4 stars, and sort of the rest of the books in the Veronica Speedwell series that I read. This one was definitely the best of the Veronica Speedwell books, in my opinion. This was book 4. I've now read 6. Yeah, I've read 6 of them. 5 and 6 weren't as good. I did technically read them this year, and they're better than most other books. But compared to the rest of the series, they weren't really 4-star books. But maybe compared to other books, they're 4-star books, if that makes any sense. How to Break Up with Your Phone, The 30-Day Plan to Take Your Life Back. I really enjoyed this book. I learned a lot of really good tips that I do still implement some of. I will say, though, I don't know how I can actually give it 4 stars when it didn't work. I did not break up with my phone. So I don't know, whatever that tells you about the book. I didn't actually, and maybe it's my fault. I didn't follow through. The next is The Husbands. I gave 4 stars. I read this book in like 2 days. I just could not put the audiobook down, more so because I just wanted to know what was going to happen. I was like, what are we going to learn? There was a twist kind of about a third of the way through that I absolutely loved. I love books that play with time. It's very much a time loop type story again, sci-fi, but a romance as well, kind of, and sort of realistic fiction, and just like weird and ridiculous, about a girl who sends her husband up to the attic, and then he comes back as a different husband, and she realizes every time the husband goes up to the attic, he comes back as a different person. So she has all these different husbands, and there's hundreds. She goes through hundreds of husbands in the book to find the perfect guy, but it gets more ridiculous. The ending gets crazy, and so there's a huge twist in the middle that I really, really enjoyed. So I liked this one. Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice. This one kind of redeemed the Finley Donovan series for me. The first book, I think I gave 4 or 4.5, probably 4 stars. I loved the first one. It's ridiculous. We all know, I'm sure you've heard of Finley Donovan at this point. I read the second 2 and didn't think that they were as good. They were just okay. Kind of tired of the same story. It's like the same story arc, like still going, but this one kind of wrapped it up. So I think the next book's going to move on to a different story. So I think I will continue the series because I like this one. This one's more of a road trip story, and there are some ridiculous scenes, but there's one scene that still stands out to me as being hilarious. I remember I was going for a run and I was listening to the audiobook, and I was chuckling to myself while I was running outside because it was so funny. Next was this the last one? Oh yeah, I guess the last one is Overwhelmed and Over It. Embrace your power to stay centered and sustained in a chaotic world. This has very few reviews on Goodreads. I don't honestly know how I found it. I really don't remember. I just randomly found it. And it's definitely written for like women, and really more so like mothers. It's a lot about how to balance everything in your life without being overwhelmed. And it had some really good tips, and I took a lot of screenshots so that I could remember some of the little diagrams that she had in the audio or the ebook, because I listened to it on audio, but then I had to get the ebook too so that I could take screenshots of all the different diagrams, because it was actually really, really helpful. So I do recommend that one if you're just looking for kind of a fun, not fun, but just a very motivating self-help book. It was kind of light and just, I don't know, I really liked it. I think it was read by the author. I'm pretty sure. I can't really remember, but I think I have to give a couple honorable mentions, because I know that technically the ones I just did were my honorable mentions, but I had a few like 3.5 stars or 3.75 that I'm looking back on and think that there were parts that were really, really good. One was Rouge by Mona Awad. Finney, I think's her name, from Finney Reads. Anyway, she had recommended this book as being like super weird and almost like Lovecraftian, and I was like, what? I have to read this. And it was really good. Like, I liked it better than I thought I would. It dragged on a little bit for me, got a little too long, but other than that, I actually really liked it. One Dark Window was just such a surprise because it was a young adult fantasy, but oh my gosh, like the ending is one of the craziest endings of a book I think I've ever read. Just like crazy stuff happened. And then Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies was actually really fun. I don't usually like cozy sort of funny mysteries that much, but I really liked this one. And finally, Crown of Midnight, because I really liked book 1, Throne of Glass, I gave like 3.5 stars. It was better than I expected, but I really liked Crown of Midnight. When I think back on it, I think I gave it like 4 stars, maybe I'll up it to 3.75, and I really enjoyed it. But then I read the third book, I can't remember, Air Fire, is that what it's called? And boring. Nothing happened. So slow. The first two books, especially Crown of Midnight, I felt like so much was happening. I was so invested in everything. There was just so much going on, so many characters doing stuff. But then it really slowed down in book 3. And I hope that that's not the case with book 4, because if that were to happen in book 4, I would not be continuing the series. So guys, those are my favorites of the year. Let me know down below if you read any of these books. Are you going to try any of these books? Will you try the Elon Musk biography because it's so fun? Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you again later. Bye.